We'll start with Bruce Whealton. Let me just mention briefly about Bruce. He's actually got a degree in engineering and a degree in social work. He's a accomplished poet and editor, and he's been running Word Salad since 1995. Bruce is an excellent web designer. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, Bruce is a person to talk to about that, and he's also a pretty good poet. Bruce Whealton.
This is one that was on the blog, Anna's blog. I'm going to start with that one. She said it was one of my better ones. I call this The Lingering Scent. It's about evil personified. The lingering scent. I could sense it on her just as well as she could sense it. I'm not talking about the smell of smoke, though it was something like that. Trace wasn't a smoker, but people in the house where she was staying did smoke, and you could smell it on her. Yet there was something more that she was describing to me, a sense of evil. She was convinced that the man staying in the house with her, in that same house, was evil, and that somehow she was contaminated. Dirty, sickening. I could sense it too. She was at once beautiful, and yet at the same moment, somehow I felt repelled by something about her, or on her. Though not given to superstition, I wanted to tell her to bathe in garlic and holy water, and to cross herself, as I do often, for protection, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Because, you see, I've been in the same room myself with that man, and somehow I still feel his shadow in my life, these many years later, as if he is sometimes in the same room with me. Like this. Okay, this one's another one about the same experience, same evil person. The Great Escape. Having seen evil, spent an hour or more in the same room with him, I felt both a strong urge to wipe his image from my mind so as to go back to a life of having never seen or known or been exposed to evil. And at the same time, I felt an obligation to destroy him, as if that was my duty, to protect all whom he might otherwise come to harm. Isn't that what I owed one of his victims? I could still hear her words, and probably always would. Are you just going to let him get away with it? And just the same, his words echoed through time. He said she had disrespected him, and for that she would have to escape in the daylight. She boarded a train the next day for a state up north from where she had come. Now I know, many years later, that he cannot be destroyed. I just want to forget him, forget his name, as if I never met him. No, act as if I never knew he existed. But I wrote this song, this poem, a modern-day Van Helsing. I felt like I was describing some immortal being that could not be killed, but the truth was I didn't have the stomach for it or the courage. Though I dreamed of some modern-day Van Helsing driving a wooden stake through his heart, maybe a relative, lover, or friend of one of his victims. Actually, to be honest, more often than not, in my dream, a sniper's bullet would be all that was needed. Decapitation would work just fine. Just one bullet would be all that it was needed. I thought at one time I could be part of those who would stop him. We'd come as one big group and find him in the daylight and expose him and ultimately destroy the demon. But that never happened. I often wondered how other victims cope today. I suppose they also have the occasional nightmares. I do not even dare contact them, afraid it would just bring back the memories. It's better to just pray for their well-being and my own. Okay, this is a vampire poem now. I'm going to read a couple from, well, this one's not actually in Puncture Wounds, but it leads to that. A warning. I write this as a source of warning. You've seen them just as I have. Vampires walk Franklin Street in Chapel Hill, like any other street in any other city or town. Don't be fooled by superstition or expectations, or completely reject the possibility of the supernatural. They walk the streets day and night. They look like you and me, yet they are different. And what signs should you notice? Perhaps you've been to a wake and looked into the casket and known that your loved one, the person you had always known, was not there. While no one can see the soul, we can know of its absence. I felt that guilt you might feel. When encountering one of them, I've been taught to believe, to see the divine, God, or Jesus in everyone, and yet I've known that sometimes, in some persons, it just isn't there. And I've wondered, how can I love one of these? Your own skepticism they use to their advantage, and they know what we hunger for and need, tools they use in some hypnotic, alluring way. And then I read the story about this person named Cortland Smith, I believe, who died up in outside of Chapel Hill. He was a UNC student, and in the paper it said that he had called 911 threatening suicide, claiming he had a gun, and he ended up getting shot by the police. He was driving through town, and they thought he had a gun because he told the 911 operator, but it turned out he didn't have a gun. And the explanation for why he died and what he was going through just didn't explain everything to me, so I kind of imagined the angel of death with him. The angel of death offers consolation. The angel of death approached Cortland as he stood holding a drink, alone, crying, hoping no one would see him. Let's go for a ride. Who are you? Someone who loves you, who understands you and what you're going through. I can't see your face. That's okay. I can see you. So they got in his car and began a long talk as Cortland drove through the dark streets. Observers would have said he was alone in the car, but Cortland would have told them differently. He would have told of a beautiful woman riding with him. They don't understand you and won't take you seriously. Go ahead, call 911 and tell them what you're going to do. I can't do it. Go ahead, call them. You'll see, they don't understand you like I do. No one ever will. So he did call 911. The angel of death kept speaking to him as he drove, as he became more desperate. There's only one way you can be with me forever, the angel of death told Cortland. I can't do it, he answered. They're not going to take you seriously just because you cry. Make them understand the depth of your pain. Tell them you have a gun with you. And you're ready to end your life now. Then they'll listen. So we told the 911 operator just what the angel of death had said. The next several moments he spent listening to the 911 operator in one ear and the angel of death in the other, until all he could hear was the soothing, hypnotic voice of the angel of death. When he came to a traffic light, he didn't hear the police telling him to stay in the car. Do you really want to be with me forever? The angel of death asked him. Then take this and go. Go ahead. You can do it. They'll remember you now. The next sounds to be heard were from the police. 4 gunshots. Shots fired. Man down. The fall of woman. Why was man so stupid in the beginning in Eden? You, God, gave him directions, guidance. The serpent approached the woman, thinking, if I can convince the woman, the man will follow. With cunning he tricked her, and she did eat of the forbidden fruit, and her husband did follow. She said, eat, and he ate. It was so simple. Confronted by God, he blames the woman, subjugating himself as if he lacked the will. The first and greatest curse on mankind, male and female, was to allow man to be in charge of things from this point on. Guide me, Mom. I am your infant, your son, in your arms, God, nourished at your breast, warmed by your milk, Mother. Don't let me go. As man or infant and son, I come to you, lying back in your arms, listening to your heart and my heart together. Speak to this boy, this man. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid I'll make a mistake. Tell me where to go and what to do. Take my hand. Guide me.